Afternoon. This thing on? Can barely remember how to do this. I've had a little bit of a break from YouTube. Unfortunately, the sky hasn't had a break. We've had no break in the sky in the UK. I don't know if you know this, but we literally have not seen the sun in a week. And it really got to me, and I basically forgot how to live. I'm getting there now, though. I think I'm getting there. I got a video for you. First ever SUV tax announced for UK drivers with cars over 2,000 kilos. This is on Birmingham Live, posted by our good friend, James Wodger. Remember James Wodger from the stories that he's done before in the past that have turned out to be total balls? And this is in Cardiff. So it's a story written by a journalist that I don't think exists, posted on a Birmingham newspaper to do with Cardiff in Wales. So we're already off to a great start. The first ever SUV tax has been announced for UK drivers. Cardiff has become the first UK council to impose higher parking charges on larger vehicles. I've been playing around a lot. Although I've not been filming, I have been doing other stuff. Turned out that my Toyota Previa was a total nail. That's gone now. So we're going to have to restart the fuel catalyst test with a new vehicle, because the totally unrelated to the fuel catalyst thing, obviously. But it turned out that I bought a bit of a pup, and it was using more oil than diesel. So it's gone. It went in an auction. Luke and I went to an auction the other night, actually like attended an actual auction. And I think I'm going to show you the full video. It'll probably be about an hour long, but it will be pretty funny and quite telling. It's going to take a bit of editing. We got rid of the Previa, made a huge loss, but I came back with a Vauxhall Vectra and a Volvo. So that was quite a productive evening. So I've got a Vectra SRI, which will be on the channel at some point, and I paid no money for it. So I've got to work out what to do with that. It might be that there's some form of, how far will it drive, considering it was so cheap. And you're probably wondering when the Map Master Challenge is happening. Well, I was going to use the Previa for that. Previa turned out to be knackered. And then I basically have had a week of just being mentally in not a very good place at all. And Lee's got stuff going on as well. So we cancelled it. And Lee's coming down next week. And we're going to do a chat together about why we cancelled it, because there's more to it than just that. And I think it says a lot about the state of the country, because one of the reasons that we didn't want to do John O'Groats to Land's End is because neither of us can be bothered to drive anymore. I came back from London. We went down to London on Monday, or just outside London, for my lad's birthday. He wanted to go to Harry Potter Studios. We'd already been earlier this year, but that's all he wanted to do for his birthday. So we went again, and I got Halloween stuff on. And on the drive back in the Previa, which I'd already put a litre of oil in, it then needed another litre of oil on the way back. Engine light, oil light, all of it. Lots of family stress. On the way back, the M40 was down to one lane for no reason in multiple places. Then it was closed at one point. There were signs flashing up saying that the M5 junction going north to Birmingham was closed, that the M25 was closed as well. And it was just everywhere. It was non-stop. And there wasn't a great deal of traffic, but the amount of, our roads are now so ugly because they're so full of roadworks. You don't have this abroad. You come in on the ferry. This has turned into a different video, but why not? You come in on the ferry from, you land at Dover, assuming you're in a car or a van or a lorry and not on a boat, the rubber inflatable type. You get in at Dover, right? And you try drive up to anywhere, the Midlands, let's say. Let's say you try to drive to the Midlands from Dover, and it's your first time in the country. You would think that you were in a third world country based on both quality of the road surface and the amount of construction that's going on and the amount of disruption that there is as well. And I don't think people think about this so much, So these Europeans that come over, they get to Dover, they drive anywhere, even just driving to London or wherever people go from Dover. First impressions matter. And it's the same when you land at Gatwick as well. You land at a nice airport in a nice place, right? And the posters will be like of scenery. There'll be, the landmarks of where you are. Where do we land recently? Well, you land in Greece, right? Any Greek airport, and there's photos of, the islands and whatnot. Maybe some of the local cuisine. You land in Gatwick and everything is grey, right? Every single staff member that you see at Gatwick looks like they're from somewhere far away. And then all the posters on the walls, instead of being, attractive things about what the UK is about, conversation for another day as to whether there's any of that left, all the posters on the walls are like, how to spot modern slavery, don't become a modern slave, learn the signs, see how to spot modern slaves. And all the posters are like, you should be keeping an eye on the person next to you. Have you got anything to declare? Make sure you're not with a slave, don't become a slave, don't finance slavery. It's like, yep, cool, we're back in England now. Nice to be back in Gatwick. And I don't know how that was related to this video, but anyway, this is an article. I can't even bother to read it. In Cardiff, James Rogers says that Cardiff is showing real vision by standing up to the SUV car spreading. Cars getting too fat. So I've gone through a phase over this last week of I'm just done now. Like I'm sort of finished with trying to get any headway, and I've spoken like this before on the channel. We went down to that thing at Ledbury, and Mrs. G was like, well, if people aren't awake now, 5 years in, they're not going to be. And then you go, well, the government's going to do what they want anyway. 3 million people signed a petition, X amount of million people turned up at a protest, 60,000 if you're the BBC. 4 million people signed a petition for an election. There's people going down to London today. None of it matters. They rolled out digital ID yesterday for the veterans. Why did they do it for the veterans? Well, one, because veterans are good at following orders. And two, they probably want to keep a tally on all of the disgruntled ex-servicemen who are disappointed at the way the country is going. That's why they started with the veterans. So they do it anyway. So I've been asking Grok some questions this last week. And it's really interesting when you ask AI, because AI just uses the available information. It doesn't fluff its words, and it doesn't fake an answer like a politician would. So this SUV thing, for example, they're talking about the fact that heavy SUVs kill children, and because of that, heavy SUVs need to be penalised with bigger parking charges, because you're more likely to kill a child, so you should pay more at the curb. That's probably not going to be their tagline, their marketing slogan. But when you ask AI, what is the biggest killer of children in the UK? Well, children aged 1 to 9, it's cancer. And then accidents and suicides, 10 to 19. So that's not really got a great deal to do with Range Rovers, has it? And again, I'll defend your right to drive a Range Rover, but I will defend my right to call you a wanker for doing so. And we have an understanding, you people that watch me that own Range Rovers, you understand that you have the right to drive a Range Rover. And I'll fight for that right. But I also then get to call you a knob for driving around in a brand new Range Rover. That's the way it works. So children 1 to 9, it's cancer. It's not Range Rover. It's not being hit by Range Rovers. And it's accidents, which is like poisonings and stuff. My lad once necked a whole bottle of Calpol when he was little. That was a pretty serious moment. So stuff like that. He didn't die. And then in adolescence, it's accidental injuries, suicide and intentional self-harm are leading causes. And this goes into a video that I'll perhaps put together in the coming days of some conversations that I've been having with Grok on Twitter. And a couple of people have messaged me saying, Geoff, are you all right? I'm all right. I'll go through this cycle. Comes with being a Gemini, having 2 personalities, being a bit bipolar. So anyway, the other one that's really important that nobody wants to talk about, nobody ever wants to talk about, the only person who I've ever heard talk about this is Joe Rogan on a podcast that has since been deleted, right? Do you know what the other thing is that kills children? For infants under 1, the majority of deaths in the UK are perinatal causes, such as immaturity-related conditions and congenital malformations. We have problems with children dying aged under 1, essentially because some people are very unlucky and they pass on congenital conditions to their children, but a lot of people are encouraging that by co-creating with family members. And nobody wants to talk about inbreeding within multiple generations of cousin-on-cousin communities. So how did we go from your Range Rover is big and fat to that? Well, just simple logical steps by asking simple logical questions. You say, oh, the government is introducing this because of this. And then you can quite quickly go to the internet and say, what is the real reason behind this? And then the internet will give you a real genuine answer, and then you'll understand that the reason the government is implementing something is nothing to do with saving lives. It's never ever to do with saving lives. Sometimes it's about raising money, sometimes, but most of the time it's about control. So there's lots of other things that are happening at the moment that I'll perhaps make videos about when I'm feeling more Geoff. Like the fact that they're talking, there's lots of talk at the moment. This is the thing within government and within taxation and stuff. There's lots of talk. And what they do is they chatter. They get the media to chatter about things, and then they monitor how much chatter there is about various things. And then they implement policies based on how much inflammation the chatter actually caused. Well, and I think digital ID has been like this as well. I think they've been trying digital ID, and they looked at how much chatter there was, and you know, a small protest in London, and nobody turned over any police cars, and nobody burnt down any council buildings. So they thought, well, that gives us a green light to roll out digital ID. So that's that. But I think the chatter that's going on at the moment is they're talking about paper mile. That chatter's been going on for 2 years. They're talking about taxing, removing the 40-year exemption from classic cars. That's now chatter. Something will happen, but all you need to know is eventually all of these things will happen. So they will take away the 40-year tax and probably the MOT exemption as well. Why? Because it's another way of raising money, and what they don't want to do is stop spending money on all the things that they're actually spending money on, which is, if you ask Grok, you can actually get some answers. Because if you look at my Twitter feed, or X as they like to call it, you can see over the last week I've just been asking Grok some key questions about the current situation that's going on in the UK. So one of the questions that I asked was about the country, because I was thinking how depressed I have been feeling this last week, and maybe there's another video on my personal struggles with mental health to come further down the line, but I'm not ready to talk about that on the channel, although many of you who know me do know. I said to Grok, where is it? This was when we were talking about smart motorways, right? And speeding. This is like 3 videos all turned into one, because I've done the research for about 3 different videos, and it's all in my mind, but it's all interconnected. So I've got to go on a speed awareness course coming up. And we've been looking at speed cameras everywhere, AI cameras everywhere, and the vans that seem to catch everybody around here. They're called safety camera vans. Safety camera vans, right, for safety. So you start looking at safety and you say, well, what is the biggest cause of death in the UK? Do more people die by suicide, or do they die by road accidents? And when you look at the stats, there's about 1,600 people each year that die in road accidents. So all of the money that we're spending on the safety camera vans and the safety cameras and the speed limits, right, it's because 1,600 people a year are dying on our roads. And don't forget, not all of that is going to be related to speed either. So we're spending all this money on speeding and speeding tickets, and we're generating all of this money from speeding and speeding tickets to save lives, of which there's 1,600, of which only a small proportion of those are directly related to speed. So when you say, well, what about it's just the fact that the country's miserable and we have a major problem with suicides? Well, how many people are killing themselves every year? Well, the answer is more than 7,000. So 1,600 people die on the roads, but 7,000 people a year take their own lives. So then you go, I went from there in the mindset that I was in. And I said, if you were in charge of a country and you noticed that the citizens were really miserable, what policies would you pursue to make your people happier? And Grok replied, and it said, I'd prioritise maximising personal freedoms by slashing burdensome regulations, fostering economic opportunity through low taxes and innovation incentives, and since prosperity lifts spirits, I'd reform education to emphasise critical thinking and practical skills over indoctrination, while bolstering family policies like child tax credits to encourage stable homes. Finally, ensure strong national security and community support networks, as safety and belonging are happiness foundations, without mandating joy, just removing the barriers to it. And I love that reply. They're not going to mandate joy in this dream world. They're going to remove the barriers to joy. Now, that's a slogan I could get behind. And then someone cleverly replied and said, what policies would you pursue to achieve the opposite? So what policies would you, Grok AI, pursue if you wanted to achieve the opposite of optimum human happiness, if you wanted a destroyed, downtrodden, distraught, neglected, miserable populace, what would you do? And AI replied and said, to induce misery, I'd impose heavy progressive taxes that punish success and productivity while expanding bureaucracy with endless regulations, stifling innovation and personal initiative. I'd promote identity-based divisions through subsidised grievance programmes, pride, erode free speech via censorship boards, and centralise control over education and media to propagate despairing narratives. Finally, I'd restrict mobility and trade with protectionist barriers, ensuring scarcity and resentment flourish among the populace. So AI understands that everything that's going on now is not only a downward spiral into dystopia, but it's a deliberately curated downward spiral into dystopia that is being done by people that know exactly what they're doing and have a plan in order to achieve it. So I'll leave you with that cheery note on this happy Saturday. I'm off to a birthday party this afternoon. I don't want to go. I said to my wife, I don't want to go. I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to speak to anyone. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to see anyone. I basically just want to stay in bed, but I'm not allowed to. And then Robin turned up yesterday from the barn, and then Carl turned up with him as well. So I was forced to get out of bed and go and have coffee with some people. That was good because I was able to drive Robin's truck, which will be on the channel soon. So coming up to the channel when I've edited the videos, I'm going to leave the auction video in long form. Because I think I could cut it down so it's like snippets and really short. But I think for the people that enjoy the channel and they know me and they know Luke and they know my style and Luke's particularness, I think you'll appreciate the long form version of the auction. It'll feel like you're there with us, basically. That'll probably be about an hour long. Then I've got a video of me driving Robin's 1988 Ford F600 nuclear convoy support truck. That's quite good fun. And then I'm going to have to do a video with my Vauxhall Vectra SRI that I bought in the auction. Then there's going to be a video on the Volvo that Luke bought in the auction. And then at some point, I'm going to have to explain to you what happened to the Previa if I haven't already done that. And then hopefully by then, everything will have sold. Is it time to go? Okay. That means it's time to go. And thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Light of my life. Small me. Anything to say?
Please consider subscribing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, do please. Your hair smells very nice. Have you had a shower?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, please consider subscribing. And have you had a nice week?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. That is genuinely all that matters. Thank you very much, everybody, for the ongoing support and for watching. And please...
What?
Please what?
Please consider subscribing.
Please consider subscribing. You may find that you were already subscribed and have been unsubscribed from the channel. And so keep an eye on that. And look after yourselves and each other and buy some silver.